Super excited to chat with everybody today, talking about Genies and how we make avatars super easy for you as a Unity developer. So my name is Carl Domingo. I'm the lead developer relations manager at Genies. Some fun facts about myself. I love F1, a huge Ferrari fan. I met a US president. I've helped over 5 million people learn Unity, which is crazy. If anybody's ever used Unity Learn, you might have seen content that I've helped create, which is so sick. And then for the fellow nerds in the room, I used to be a top 100 hunter in WoW. I don't know if that's a cool achievement, honestly. That was just a lot of time, and I would never go back to doing that ever again. But it was cool while I did it, So Genies is an avatar technology company. We've actually been building avatars for years at this point, ever since 2015. So actually on this screen here, you can see all of the different avatars that we've made for celebrities in the past. There's like J Balvin, there's Quavo on there, really focused on this like 2D avatar aesthetic. And this is where we got a lot of our roots from. Now we're actually working with some really major brands and icons. So in the last literal month, we've announced partnerships with places like King Records and Kodansha. How many people have heard of Blue Lock before? Handful of people. Amazing anime. Highly recommend watching it. We've also announced partnerships with the MLB Players Association to create AI avatars. And one of the really cool opportunities that I have for developers is now we're making our 3D avatars and their AI characters of all these different brands and characters available to you. So we announced the Genies Avatar SDK. This actually launched in November, just ahead of Unite, which is super exciting. And we have a major partnership with Unity. We're official Unity Verified Solutions partner. And one of the things that I'm super excited about is the National Basketball Players Association partnered with us, and they're actually some of the first people that is really excited about getting their players into the hands of game developers for content. So if you're interested in using characters like the NBPA or some of the other brands that we're working with, feel free to talk to me afterwards. But it's really exciting, and this is the thing that I'm trying to get into the hands of a lot of developers all around the world. Now, we provide a suite of tools for people. So today I'll be showing you the Genies Avatar SDK. Literally this week, we actually just launched our Genies Art Forge. And in the future, we're going to be releasing our Smart Avatar SDK. But all of this is really built around creating a really cohesive environment for you as a game developer. So the Avatar SDK makes it super easy to leverage highly customizable characters for use in your own gameplay. The Genies Art Forge helps you to create additional clothing options. This is like a really main component of our character editors that you can create clothing, upload it into our systems, and the player has access to it to be able to equip and use within your game or other games. And with the Smart Avatar SDK that's going to be coming out, leveraging some of those brands and characters that I mentioned before, like the NBA Players Association, being able to use those characters and their personas of like Steph Curry, for example, to actually talk and engage with players inside of your game. So these are both available on the Unity Asset Store. You can go grab them. Totally free to download, the Genies Avatar SDK and the Genies Art Forge SDK. Highly recommend go checking it out. Go give it a review. We have a whole Discord that you can go pop into. But I will dig into the Avatar SDK in particular. So the Avatar SDK is a really flexible, just character customization and creation system. They're really just character tools at the end of the day, character models that you can go and manipulate. So you can apply a Mixamo animation. This is actually using the Ultimate Fighting Engine. This is just a fun little example that we made of a fighting game. If you want to go try and play it, we actually have it set up downstairs at our table. And so it's really quick, lightweight, easy to set up and use overall. We really designed it to be as simple as possible to get started so that you can just start using avatars within your game. Like I mentioned, the Genies Avatar SDK has this ability for players to create their own accounts. And so we have this persistent login that is really unique and what I think is really powerful about our system. Players are able to maintain a persistent identity for their character, right? So the character that they create in your game is the same character that they bring into another game that uses our login system. This is really cool because then you can give players different clothing and rewards that they can use on their avatars. And that is the same stuff that they'll have in other games that they can use as well. So here you can see an example of that avatar being used in different games. So this is one of my avatars that I made in the past, playing like a kind of like simple dance rhythm game. The other one is kind of like a tower defense game and a like rock climbing infinite runner kind of game. And it's all the same avatar. It all just uses the avatar definition from my account itself to serve into these games. We provide avatar editing out of the box, so we have a whole API system that's available, but we've also created our own custom layouts, so then that way you can go and customize the avatar however you want. It's really deeply customizable, all the way from the clothing down to the skin tone, the lips, the hair color, and so I'll show you all of those in the demo. And the player inventory is where all of those different pieces of clothing are actually stored for the players. So when you actually award them something, it gets stored into this massive library that you see here for shirts, jackets, t-shirts, pants, whatever it may be. And they maintain those items wherever they're using their character for playing in a game. So this is just a kind of fun example that one of my teammates made. So this is actually a game using our inventory system. And so you can see it's trying to match the pants and the shoes to the icons that are shown for the door itself. And so they're actually using like the unique IDs of these clothing assets to be able to track against the door, and then if it's successful, then it'll open the door, like you see. So just kind of a fun way that you can use some of the clothing, but at the end of the day, you know, it is a avatar editor, character customization system, and we want to make it as easy as possible for you. So I'll pop open a quick demo inside of Unity just so you can all kind of see what it looks like. This is a Unity-based SDK, and we're expanding in the future to other platforms as well. But let me open up my Unity window. It is dark on my screen. There you go. So very first, actually, let me make sure I open this. When you download the SDK and import it into Unity, we've created this whole bootstrapping system to make it as easy as possible to use our avatars. The avatars are streamed from our servers. That's how we're able to save the definitions of these characters and then use them consistently within different games. And so we have these different settings that just make it super easy. You literally just click these buttons, configure all, import, and it will just get the project set up for you at its baseline. And then there's also credentials that you can use to save your actual app that you're creating with your game, as well as these fun little buttons at the bottom to bring you to the documentation page or to import the sample scene. So I've already done that just to make that simpler, but I'll show you what they look like here. So the first sample scene that we have is really just designed for you to see how simple it is to use our avatars and basically what they look like and how they're constructed. And so this is basically just a demo mode where you can go and see the avatar walking around. Let me actually pop open into the scene view so you can kind of see it a little bit closer. Whoops, went too far. And so you can see our avatar here. It does have its own custom animation system, but like I said before, you can apply a Mixamo animation very easily to do whatever you want for that specific purpose for your game. But overall, just very simple scene, right? It's like you don't really have to do very much to get set up and get started. In order to actually really use the Avatar SDK, we do have our own account system. I totally didn't even check if it was going to be fitting on the screen. Let me just make that a bit smaller. We do have an account creation system for you as a developer where you can log your own apps. So in here, I've already done the work of setting it up. It's just like entering a bunch of random text, which I don't think people want to watch. You can see here all the different keys that you use for like your app ID, your client ID, and your secrets and stuff like that. And this is how I can keep track of also all of the different assets that I have been uploading into my inventory to use for players. And so this is where I collect all these different keys here to store inside of that window that I showed you before. But then I have this simple starter scene set up. Let me find it. Not demo mode. Avatar starter scene. And so instead in this scene, having a demo mode, it actually brings up the prompts for how you would actually log in and use our login system. You can feel free to customize it however you want. I've already logged in on my device, and so you can see my actual literal avatar here, which is pretty cool. And I'll pop open the avatar editor just so you can all see what it looks like. You can see all the different options of clothing that we have here. Actually, I believe in like the bottoms, I have a bunch of pants. You can tell that they're custom rewarded pants that I made because this one says Carl Test again in Jan 8th. I don't know why I named it like that. Very descriptive names to be able to just keep track of all the things that you have, and you can name them whatever you want, whatever you give them to a player. So I have like these reward pants here, and then even inside the avatar, it's like I can go and change like my hairstyle. So I had made this like fun little rainbow hairstyle before, but I don't know, let's make myself look something a bit more like Goku. That actually looks pretty cool, so I dig that. And so this is my avatar, and this is what will actually be shown inside of games as I'm using it in different games and experiences. So click save, close that. Let me pop open one last scene, and then I'll show you what it all looks like in the context of an actual game. And so another really cool thing that you can do with our avatars is create a, that's not the right scene, silly Carl, there it is. You can actually use our avatar editing system to create NPCs for your game. So press play here on this scene. Does it fit on the window? Not really. Let me, doop, doop, doop. Kind of fits. There you go. Cool. So in this scene here, I actually have two different avatars, and they have their own specific definitions that I can save out. And so I already made one before called NPC1, so I'll call this NPC2. So this will be the actual name of the file that gets saved to my device that then is what used to serve that avatar. I'll select this person over here. I'll put on like a cool, funky jacket. Let's find some cool, do these pants match? Kinda, that looks pretty sick. And we'll chuck on some shoes. And just change the hair again to make it a little bit more crazy. What's a good one? Ooh, does that look? Dig it, dig it. Let's even change the hair tones. And you can see like the level of customization here. Quite a lot of different things. This does actually get saved as like a color palette that you can use for your characters themselves, which is also quite nice. So it's kind of like a little tie-dye-ish hair. There you go. Looks pretty good. So I'll click Save there. And then this will save as NPC2. Let me just double check to make sure that it's saved properly. I believe it's in Resources. That's not the right one. No. Yes, there it is. NPC2. Cool. So we have that saved. And I'll just open up like the simple starter scene that I set up for myself just to kind of show you how this all works in action. So there's like a really simple level that we set up here with some of our own tooling. It's kind of like a little arcade, very fitting for this arcade bar that we're in, this arcade themed bar. So I'll load in, it'll load in my avatar here. You can see the avatar that I made. Oh, he's behind the blocks. You can see my character. This is the NPC that I had made before. And then this is the NPC that I'll change here. So all I need to do is I have made a very simple spawner object. I'm just going to name this NPC2. So this will pull in the definition from that JSON file that I created. So that's the first thing that I'll do. And then in the canvas, I have a script for rewarding an asset. So if anybody saw that little reward button, I have a jacket that I haven't actually rewarded to myself because I haven't earned it, but now I have. So in the canvas, I'm just going to change the asset ID to the new one that I have here. So we'll see that this right NPC here will change to the new definition that I've set up. And then when I click the reward button, we'll see that the shirt that I have will get uploaded into my inventory. I don't know why I set the mouse backwards. There you go. So that's the new NPC that we made, which is super cool. And make sure I get a good position for this camera. And then I've rewarded myself the clothing asset that I made. Did I put it in jackets? Let's see. I don't exactly remember. There it is. So that ski jacket that I had in my inventory, I've now actually given it to myself as the player. And just to show you that I have rewarded it, if I click this button again. Oh, I cannot click the button because I have an UI open. Let me close this. Let me leave. There you go. Click the reward button. You can see I no longer can reward this asset because I've already given it to another player. So you as an artist or a developer can create your own clothing, essentially, gift it to the player, and it becomes a really cool reward. You can add in a lot of different mechanics to it, like enabling in-app purchasing and selling it as part of like an actual clothing collection to a player whenever they're playing inside of your game. So a lot of different ways that you can use all of these different assets for actual gameplay itself. Let me head back to that is not the right, where did it go? There it is. Slide. So really simple, easy to get set up, shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. We try to make it as easy as possible. If you do run into issues, pop into our Discord and please let us know. But let's get back to here. So the SDK is designed for multiple platforms. We do have builds ready for Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android, and XR. We are expanding to multiple platforms, WebGL and console in the future. But just to kind of see what that looks like, this is an actual VR sample that we have on our GitHub repo online, where you can go and check out our avatars and play around with it. So this does work in the Quest. One of my good friends, David, helped work on this, so it looks really cool. And that's his avatar in there. And so as we're expanding and reaching and trying to support more developers, being able to build on other platforms like console and WebGL are higher priorities for us. But if there are things that you're interested in, definitely let us know. So now I'll jump into the tool that we have released this week, which is super exciting. So this is what we call the ArtForge SDK. It's really designed for creating a lot of different kind of art assets, really designed for small indie teams in mind. We tried to make it as easy as possible to use our avatars as we could with our Avatar SDK. And now for you that has a team that can't necessarily spend the time to create all of these different kind of clothing assets, say you're making like a medieval themed game, you can use this SDK that we've created to generate like a full set of armor that you can then submit into a player's inventory that they can use and wear within your game itself. All of these assets automatically get rigged onto a player's avatar. And so we can see here in this video the actual like creation process. It's a bit long, so I'll kind of speed it up. But you basically just submit like the detailed information of what you want. So in this case, it's going to be like a jacket with spikes on it. You can like adjust the different settings in terms of like how detailed you want the poly count. And so it makes it a lot easier for you to use as a model inside of the game itself. It generates preview images for the asset that it's actually going to create. So this is like a jacket that has all the different sides. So that way it can create the full model of the jacket that's going to be used for the player. And then when it finally generates the actual asset, you'll see it pop open in Unity. And so this is like a clothing model that you can literally submit into our processing pipeline and save it into a player's inventory to use as clothing within their game. So that button basically sent it directly to our backend pipelines, all custom technology that we built ourselves to be able to use for a player. And then in here, you can see my friend actually equipping that asset that they submitted onto their avatar here. Nice. So really flexible system. We really want to make it as easy as possible for you as developers to save time on having to make any of these kinds of systems, right? Create clothing, create these avatars, and really allow you to focus on actually creating around your game itself. Whoops, that's not the button that I wanted to press. There you go. And then here you can just kind of see what we're looking at in the future. So this is actually something that we'll be releasing over the next couple of months or so. Being able to actually just upload any avatar into our pipeline to then have it automatically rig and use any clothing asset. So you can see here just very different styles of humanoid avatars, and all of the different pants and shirts automatically fit onto the characters. You can see like custom rigs that we actually set up here for animation, and they all work the exact same on all these different characters. So if you're making a game and you see our stuff and you're like, oh, that doesn't really fit the aesthetic of what we're trying to do, in the near future, you'll be able to just upload your character model and then be able to get it auto-rigged and use as a mannequin for a character without having to do any setup work yourself, and have it be able to work with all the different clothing that's available. So last but not least, I'll just highlight something that's coming very soon, like in the next month or so as we start to get things cleaned up. But the Smart Avatar SDK, this is what really hinges around a lot of the stuff that I was talking about before with like the NBA Players Association and some of the other brands that we're working with. One of the really cool pieces is not just providing the character models of those different people, but also to be able to provide the persona, the brain of those characters for you as a developer to use and immerse players inside of your game. And so a lot of the custom technology that we're building in the background is really designed to make these characters come to life. And so then when you're talking to them, it feels like you're really talking to that character, to that celebrity. And then you can bring them into your game, apply the context of what's happening inside of your game, and actually leverage it and talk with it as an actual character. So this is a very simple demo that I have set up. This is using all of our internal tooling at the moment. But, I did not cut this video down. We do not need the loading part. And so I just set up this like really simple like shopkeeper character on our backend system, essentially kind of acting as like a quest giver or somebody that just gives information inside of a like small town that you're in. And so you can talk to them and it's generating all of its own custom conversations just based off of the like base context that I gave it in terms of like a design document and information. And so I, as a developer, don't need to spend a lot of time to create narrative if I'm not a narrative designer. I can just use this tool to be able to make these players or make these characters feel a lot more alive and have players engage with them in a much more interesting way that's a lot more personal to their own gameplay. So with that, that's been me. I'm Carl Domingo. I hope everybody had a interesting time, great time today. I learned a lot. Feel free to check out our table down in front of the DJ booth if you want to go see more and actually get your hands on with using the SDK. This QR code here will send you to links to the actual SDK on the asset store, as well as if you want to chat with us during the week, I'll be here all the way until Friday. We can set up a meeting and whatever, and I can kind of show you a lot more stuff in depth. So with that, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday and a great day 2 of GDC.